Hey, my name is Steve and I'm not a luthier, but I built this guitar with some pretty modest tools. If I can do this, anyone can. Today I'm going to show you some of the final assembly steps. Thanks for watching. Alright, I'm on to the next step. I have mounted all of the hardware on the pickguard, and that's just pretty simple mounting. There's just screws here, and if I pull that off, there's just a little nut that holds the pots on. So now the wiring, which is the part of this process that I'm the least comfortable with. At least this time I have a really nice wiring diagram. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's not, a traditional wiring diagram like you're seeing there, where you've got a ground and I don't know how to read those. This one actually shows the green wire, the black wire, the white wire. The blue wire shows you exactly where to connect it. So I'm gonna give this a try, see how it goes. It's pretty sloppy solder. That's all I really know how to do. So, I had some issues yesterday. With the camera. Didn't capture everything. I had some issues with the neck, which I'm going to share with you. One point I thought the whole thing's ruined, the whole thing's scrapped. I'm going to have to order a new neck and start over. But I was able to salvage the neck. I think it'll still be fine. Let me just explain. One of the sources that I'm using recommended, instead of using wood screws to put in the neck plate, hold that in place, to use brass inserts and stainless steel screws, just because it'll allow you to remove the neck without weakening anything. You remove the neck with wood screws over and over again, eventually it's going to get weaker and weaker every time you do it. Theoretically, these brass inserts will not weaken. You'll be able to remove the neck exponentially more times without weakening the neck. So, that was the plan. These brass inserts are very tricky. What I did, I marked the spots. I marked the spots on my neck where I needed to drill. I don't know how well you can see those. I'll show you the damage I did later, but I was very careful about marking those. And then I built a jig on my workbench that the neck fits into perfectly. And then I used this device, which, my jig is a little imperfect, so I had to shim it to make it level. And then you use this, I connect my drill to this, and it's basically a poor man's drill press. So I did that. I was really careful about getting the holes drilled in the right spot. The right depth is important also, because you don't want to drill through to your fretboard. I didn't do that. What I did is when I inserted the insert, the way you do that, you take the screw that you're using and you put a couple of nuts on there, and then you insert, put the brass insert at the end, and then you use that, you know, to drive it into the wood. It's really, really difficult to get that in straight. The problem I had is that, you know, no matter what I did, couldn't get it to go in perfectly straight. Two of them went in straight enough. The third one, not so much. And when I did that, it actually cracked this wood a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a, you know, it cracked, it split right there. I did wood glue and clamp it. I'm also going to sand down right here, just so that's flush, you know, with the top. It just raised it a little bit. I also had an issue with this when I drilled out this hole. I just couldn't get it, couldn't get a bite. Tried drilling a little bit wider with a just slightly larger bit. It just really didn't help. The insert wasn't sticking in there at all, and I wound up filling the hole again with glue and toothpicks and wood putty, so that I'm hoping, you know, that'll be a good firm hold for the wood screw. Between the, you know, between that and the other three with the inserts, I should be good. Now this one's going in at an angle. I don't know if it's going to take a screw or not. We'll find out, but I believe it'll take it, and it's just going to be a little bent, and it'll probably, if it'll go in, it's just going to, you know, really tighten it up. But I did insert the neck into the body cavity. It's a really nice tight fit. So as long as I get that sanded down, and I can get those bolts in there, it should be a really nice tight fit. Should be fine. On the body, went ahead, I changed out originally. I had the white pick guard. I decided it just needed to have the black pick guard, so I changed out the electronics, put it on the black pick guard. I installed the tremolo, and I don't have this screwed in yet, so I have to hold it in place, but I also installed, you know, you have to ground the electronics to the tremolo. I don't know, really don't know how you do that, because it won't solder. It recommends soldering. Solder won't stick to it. So what I may do is drill a hole through it, put the tip of the wire through there, and then try and solder it that way. But it's just the way I've been doing, it's not working. So anyway, a little frustration there. But I do have everything installed, and including the output jack. Everything's soldered properly, and I just need to get my neck issue figured out, and then I can attach the, and I don't have this screwed in, so I've got the screws to do that. I'm going to do that tonight. But I'm getting ready to put everything together, make a real guitar out of it. All right, one of the things that I have to do is shorten these bolts that will go into the inserts to the same length as the wood screws that go in there. Otherwise, you know, it's obviously going to be too long. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. I've got my bench grinder, and I'm going to just be grinding about 1/2 inch off of those. All right, what I'm doing, put these nuts on the bolt where I want to grind down to, and then I'm putting that on my bench grinder, and it accomplishes a couple things. Obviously, it gives me, you know, a mark to grind down to. It also, a lot of times it gets hot when you're grinding it and it wants to bend. This helps keep it straight. And then when you pull the nuts off, it rethreads the tip, so it's easy to drive back in. So now I've got 3 bolts ground down to the length I need them, and 1 wood screw. So I'm almost ready to start assembling the guitar. I've sanded this down, I don't know if you can see that, but I've sanded that down, and I have shortened my bolts. I have mounted the pick guard and the plate on the back, so I am ready. I'm ready to put the neck on and make this look like a real guitar. So, got a nice snug fit there. Stays in all by itself almost. There it is. Still need to install the nut and obviously strings, but I finally got a finished guitar, and I'm pretty happy with the way this has come out. I'm getting ready to install the nut into the nut slot. I've got a couple of strings here ready to go to hold it down as soon as I've got it in place and glued. Made a little puddle of wood glue, and I'm going to put a toothpick in there. I'm going to use that to spread the glue in that slot. Now that I've got it in place, I'm going to use the strings to actually hold it down instead of a clamp. I've got that being held in place with the low and the high E strings. So I'm going to let that glue dry, and I'm going to come back, put some more strings on it, file the nut down a little bit, get it set up. It's been about a month since I finished this guitar. I gave it to my son for Christmas. He really loved it. He lives in San Diego, so I still have to ship it out to him. I took it to a repair shop to get a little bit of help with some stuff that I was having trouble with. The electronics need to be grounded to the tremolo claw. It's really difficult to solder to the tremolo claw. You need to get that really hot. The $10 soldering iron that I bought when I built my first guitar, couldn't get it hot enough, so I took it to him. I did all of the setup myself, even did the intonation. I didn't do any filing on the nut just because the action was already pretty low. I was afraid it was pretty close to spec. I was afraid to lower it anymore, or I might have to replace the nut completely. But it's an amazing guitar. It's got a really good sound. I don't really play, and I probably can't hear that, but as soon as my son gets it, he's going to record some music samples for me, and we'll post those. But overall, I'm really happy with the way this came out. It's a beautiful guitar. It's got a beautiful sound. If I can do this, anyone can. Thanks for watching. If you found this informative and helpful, I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe buttons. I will be posting some additional projects, so I hope you'll come back and see those. I promise I'll pick up the tempo on future videos.